Hi, I'm John Green, and today I will be talking about The Auschwitz Escape by Joel C. Rosenberg. It is a historical fiction book that takes place during the Holocaust when Hitler reigned over Germany. Roughly, it takes place between 1939 and 1944, but it goes a little bit past that into what you could say present day. So, what we have is a young man, about 17 or 18, Jacob Weiss, who lives in Germany and is originally from Berlin when Hitler comes to power back in the 1930s. So, Jacob's father was a professor in Berlin, and since his family is Jewish, there was a lot of issues with that, and eventually they were forced to flee Berlin and then Germany altogether. Jacob has an uncle named Avi, and he is part of the underground resistance all over the place. So Jacob gets kind of caught up in that, and eventually he gets captured, and that's where the title of the book really gets its inspiration from. Is he is actually sent to Auschwitz concentration camp. So being part of the resistance, he was not allowed to believe in his death. I would say he did not see it ending like that. He always kind of thought that there would be a way out, and that's really where this book starts to hit the ground running and starts to move a little bit more. So, like any other Holocaust book, this book should be taken very seriously, and it has some pretty gruesome details in it that should not be laughed at or joked about or anything like that. But in other cases, it is a little bit different, especially for any other Holocaust books that I've personally ever read. Because of the escape nature, mainly, is why it differs. Usually, I'm used to just reading about things that didn't end so well for Jewish uh, prisoners in World War II, but in this case, it has a lot of glimmers of hope in it, which is a little bit different, and that's one of the reasons why I enjoyed this book so much. So, in the section that I'm reading, Jacob has always struggled with his faith even before being sent to Auschwitz, so you can imagine that being in a concentration camp full of death and just really bad things happening, he struggles with it a lot more. And the section also includes a character named Abby, and that is kind of a girl in Auschwitz that he's having a sort of unspoken relationship with. So I will read this portion of the text for you now. I will not die, but live, and tell of the works of the Lord. Jacob realized his hands were trembling. He was not a religious man. He was not from a religious family. He had never owned his own copy of the Torah or the Tanakh. He had never read the scriptures except a brief passage during his bar mitzvah that he couldn't even remember any longer. Not only could he remember his parents ever reading from the Psalms or any other portion of the scriptures except on Passover, and only briefly at that. He couldn't even remember ever wanting to read such things. But now, as he held this copy of the book of Psalms in his gaunt, bony fingers, knowing the last person to have touched this book was Abby Cohen, he was surprised at how moved he felt. So that's just a little short section of the book, but it really gets across how conflicted Jacob is as just a human being. It's not just in his faith that he feels conflicted, but it's everywhere, and it just kind of gets a little personal feel of the book. It's mainly from Jacob's perspective, which is pretty neat to read. I would give this book a 4 to 5 stars, mainly because it's a pretty easy read, and at first it's a little bit confusing because it jumps around. It starts with another person and then it goes to Jacob, so that might be a little weird for you. Keep in mind again that some of the details in the book are a little gruesome or hard to come by, but other than that, it's a pretty great read, and I suggest you check it out. Thank you.